James Yontop no longer on the UFC roster. He signed with FFC Latin America, and he's going to fight for their interim welterweight title in March. He was the organization's welterweight champion before he got a shot on the Contender Series. The organization means a lot to him. He has their logo tattooed on his neck. After winning on the Contender Series, Yontop went 0-3 in the UFC. His last fight was against Rufi last month. He was outmatched the first couple rounds, but he's tough, very tough, hung in there, and he won the third round against an increasingly fatigued Rufi. Chris Curtis accused his opponent Roman Kopylov of sending spies to infiltrate his training camp ahead of their fight on January 11th. Curtis claimed that two Russian fighters showed up at his gym, Extreme Couture, with the intent of joining the team. However, after training with Curtis for 2 weeks, these individuals allegedly disappeared once Kopylov arrived into town to prepare for the fight, and they were seen training with Kopylov. So Curtis referred to this as a scumbag move by Kopylov. However, he's now backtracking on those spy accusations.
So I'll say this, guys. I am very rarely ever wrong. But when I am wrong, on those rare occasions, I will admit to being wrong. So, I always say, like, coincidences are not real. Turns out they are. And through, like, 3 different kind of interconnected coincidences going off at the same time, it's, turns out Chase Hooper, Kopylov isn't actually evil Russian with spies. So let me explain. So we have Johnny Walker at the gym, and his opponent is a guy we've trained with before. But because they're both there, Walker's opponent goes to Syndicate, one of the other big gym in Vegas, because, they're fighting each other. Cool, whatever, it's normal, it happens. Sucks, but it happens. So his corners are the Russians that were at the gym. So he was over there. He's like, you guys can train at Extreme. It's good, the body's for you because they're middleweights. So they're at Extreme, and then he got in town, which I knew he was. I saw him in town, get in town roughly like right around the time that Kopylov did. So they vanished, apparently. Those are the 2 Russians that vanished. But they vanished because he's back in town, so they're his corner. So they're like, okay, we're going there. So that was unrelated to the Kopylov thing, but Kopylov happened to come in town at the same time. And then he was doing his workouts at the PI for later, because he closes earlier. And they were there, and Kopylov was there with his team, and they got pictures with Kopylov and fucked around with him, as fighters do, fuck around with everybody. So there's like 3 things going on that are loosely interconnected. They ended up with pretty much me thinking that giant evil Russian Chase Hooper was in fact giant and evil, when it turns out he's just giant Russian Chase Hooper, and he's not quite as evil as I thought he was. So I talked to Kopylov earlier today. We actually got all of us in the same room together at the same time, so we kind of figured it out what happened. He's like, everybody thinks I'm the bad guy. I'm like, my bad, Roman. That was on me. I will admit, guys, I was wrong. So like, let's not hate giant Chase Hooper, because he's not actually giant evil Chase Hooper. He's just giant Chase Hooper. And to the other Russians, I apologize once again. That was on me. Like a lot of kind of things fell into place weirdly that led to this. But I was wrong. Never afraid to say that I was wrong, and that was on me. So once again, I apologize, Kopylov. Guys, we can start being nice to Kopylov again. It's okay. He's not actually evil. He seems like a pretty cool dude, actually. So yeah, there it is. That is the end of the Russia Extreme Couture saga there. So my bad, guys, my bad.
Damon Jackson retired last month after his loss to Jim Miller at UFC 309, but he changed his mind like a lot of MMA fighters do. But he did remove himself from the drug testing pool, so that's going to raise some eyebrows. People are going to assume he's going down the Donald Cerrone route, retire, take a bunch of PEDs, then decide he doesn't want to retire anymore and come back. Cerrone plans to come back next year, and he's thinking about going to 185. There's a lot of big guys up there, though, so it may not be a good idea. He was getting knocked out at 170 and 155, and the TRT and roids may not necessarily help the chin. Steve Garcia holds the longest active knockout streak in the UFC with 5 consecutive KO victories. He achieved the 5th straight KO in September. He puts that streak on the line in his next fight against Edson Barboza, February 26th in Seattle, Washington. Edson is durable, so it won't be easy to KO him, but he has been knocked out before by guys like Chikadze, Jamie Varner, and Justin Gaethje. If Garcia can pull off the knockout, he'll tie Don Fry and Sergey Pavlovich for the second longest KO streak with 6 and be 1 away from the all-time leader Chuck Liddell with 7. The 2024 Fight Pass most replayed UFC events were UFC 300, then 308, 299, 302, and then 309. The top 2 do stand out as being the best. Former Rizin champ Kai Asakura says his next fight may take place in May, with the earliest possibility being April. He mentioned he doesn't have an opponent yet, but he's open to facing whoever the UFC puts in front of him. Asakura is coming off a title fight earlier this month against Pantoja in his UFC debut. Aljamain Sterling has told the UFC matchmakers he's ready to go.
Feed your boy. Coming, baby. Just a righty. A little fat right now. We'll be ready. Let me know, Shelby. Let me know.
Aljo's expressed interest in fighting either Arnold Allen or Brian Ortega next, which he hopes to be in March or April. He thinks this matchup could help him maintain or improve his standing in the featherweight rankings after the loss to Evloev, which was a close and competitive fight. All the judges scored it the same way. Aljo got the first round and Movsar got the next 2. So now they're 5 spots apart in the rankings. Aljo's number 9, Movsar number 4. Arnold Allen is 2 spots away from Aljamain Sterling, and Brian Ortega is 3 spots away. Brian Barberena is looking to restart his career in the summer of next year. He was cut by the UFC this year. His greatest win in the UFC was probably knocking out Robbie Lawler in 2022. In a crazy fight, Barberena has expressed interest in fighting Mike Perry in BKFC. Frank Shamrock not a fan of power slap due to brain damage. A study from the University of Pittsburgh looked at 333 professional slap fighting contests, and it found that about 80% of the matches showed clear signs of concussions, and many participants were knocked unconscious. Next Power Slap show is Power Slap 11, Thursday, January 30th in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. 2 days later is the UFC Fight Night there, Adesanya versus Amavov. Kevin Holland says this guy is his twin. Hey folks, any advice on how to get my braids more Kevin Hollandy? He's my favorite fighter and I want to look like him. Holland says they won't let me join the group, which is MMA Uncircumcised, but just put a gulp of Vaseline in it. Works every time. Holland will be fighting for the 50th time in just over 4 years, January 18th, against De Ridder. De Ridder's been training at Killcliff FC with the likes of Gregory Rodriguez, who fights a month later, February 15th main event against Jared Cannonier. It's a good opportunity for Rodriguez to break into the rankings if he can beat number 8 ranked Jared Cannonier. Reese McKee looking to return to the Octagon in March in London. This is his second stint with the UFC. His first one started out tough. He took a 10-day notice fight with Khamzat Chimaev, which is a very tough ask. Claressa Shields training for a fight February 2nd in Flint, Michigan, taking on Danielle Perkins. Shields' biopic movie, The Fire Inside, debuted at number 10 at the box office during its opening weekend, earning $4.3 million over 5 days on a $12 million budget. It opened on Christmas Day. Shields says she would beat Jake Paul with 10-ounce gloves and no headgear. It never happened, but if it did happen, Jake would probably knock her out very badly in the first round, but it won't happen. Thanks for watching. You can leave tips through Super Thanks to channel members, and there's an option for memberships for businesses if they want to have their brand mentioned at the end of videos.